Well, hi there, my name's Peter Wolfkamp, resident builder, and after telling people for years and years and years what to do with their house, offering up suggestions on better houses, now it's my opportunity to basically put my money where my mouth is. So this is our house project. This is our house. It is a house that is probably dating from about 1905. It's had some work done to it in the 1990s. It's fair to say that this house needs more than just a lick of paint. That'll come a little bit later on. There is lots to do and I've got lots to show you. Come with me. Over many years in the building industry, certainly for the last 15 to 20 years, I've focused almost exclusively on heritage houses. So I'm reasonably familiar with all of the various elements that I might find in this 1905 cottage. However, even in an old house like this, or especially with an old house like this, there are always some surprises. Pulling off the interior lining, I discovered that someone has had to reframe this entire front section of the house. Somewhere up there, obviously to patch up a few drafts, they got a bit of old cardboard and stapled that over the original sarking. The sarking in many ways with an old house like this is what gives it all of its integrity. So I'm a little bit reluctant to remove all of that, but I want to insulate all of the exterior walls to a really high standard. So I'm going to use heat savers to come in and actually fill all of these voids. In other areas, I'll be able to use the Ortex green stuff. That's a big job in here. And then of course we're going to be relining. We've got to sand and scrape and prepare all of these old ceilings. The floors, well, they're in so-so condition. So I think it's going to be new flooring over the top here. Pull out these windows. I want to put draft seals in. I'm going to put some more effective glazing in there as well. And that's just this room, and I've still got the whole house to go. One of the things I really enjoy about working on older houses, on heritage houses, is that they are part of history. They are our history. And each individual house has its own story to tell as well. One of the stories about this house is that this one, along with the other 4 similar properties, were perhaps built in the Coromandel during the gold rush, and then when that tapered off at the end of the 1800s, they were put on a barge, brought into Devonport and carted up here and relocated here. I've still got a bit of research to do around that, but it's a fantastic story. It has had a little bit of a hard time as well. When we removed the wall lining, discovered that that entire wall is charred. So despite the fact that there's an old fireplace here, somehow that caught on fire. Just another job to do. We're in the hallway of the house right now. It's not the widest or the grandest hallway, but it does get me from the front door to the back door. And one of the things that I wanted to do with this place is kind of open it all up. So where there was an old door frame, we've taken that out. I'm going to lift the head height up and get that flow from the front door right through to the north-facing backyard. It's also the perfect place to put in a set of attic stairs from Selwood because there's a lot of space up there. It's going to be clean and dry, and I need storage in a house that's only 95 square metres. Well, welcome to the bathroom. Again, not the biggest space in the world, and it's an interesting one in the sense that it tells me so much about the house and who lived here over time. Out in the back, there is actually a wash house, so I think that people only actually bought the bathroom inside, possibly as late as the 1980s sometime. And you can see too that if you don't do good waterproofing in a space like this and you allow moisture to get through onto your bottom plates, then we've got a little bit of rot to deal with as well. Great thing about this place is that the original clawfoot bath was here, and I've sent that away. It's going to be beautifully resurfaced and polished up, and that'll take pride of place right there underneath the window. New tiled shower in here, obviously got to put a new toilet in, vanity, and a few other bits and pieces. You'll see more of that a bit later. This is the living space, this is the lounge, and that wall over there was the original back wall of the house. When we took all the lining off, discovered that there wasn't actually one continuous stud anywhere in that wall. It had all been cobbled together. There used to be a window in the back there. It was all pretty shaky and shonky, to be honest. So a little bit of brand new J-frame in there, and that wall is it's way stronger than it used to be. We've had to do some extra work here as well. The floor, talking to a previous owner, it's really difficult to get access here. I want to completely insulate this house. I'm not going to cut any corners or make any compromises around achieving a really well, as best I can, an energy efficient house. So we needed to get into this corner to do some repiling. We've taken out some of the flooring. I've laid down polythene. I'm going to insulate it. It's given me an opportunity of lifting this corner of the house, which was always a bit of a problem. And then my new flooring is simply going to go right over the top. I've still got to do some work on the ceiling as well. Unfortunately, the roof, I think it could be 60 or 70 years old, the iron up there. And well, if I can see daylight out through it, then that's where the water's coming in as well. So I've got a bit of damage to the ceilings. And the chimney, we've opened this up. It was all, traditionally in these houses, it's all framed up. So it was quite bulky. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to go for an ASEA fireplace in here, and then still playing with some ideas about how I want to shape this. But certainly on the other side, I'll keep the fireplace and the decorative look of the bricks. On this side, I'll probably end up closing it in and making it slightly more modern. It's a work in progress, that's fair to say. Where I'm standing right now spans almost an entire century. This part of the house, the original part of the house, dating from 1905. This part of the house, a early 1990s extension. And we've made a couple of changes in this room as well. I've just moved the lintel up a little bit higher, just so that it's an awkward space with a lean-to on this side and the remnants of the old batten and board ceiling on this side. Reframed this wall here, discovered that this space used to be just one big open space, and a previous owner had actually built the new wall to divide the two spaces and didn't lift the carpet. I was wondering why it was so hard to pull the carpet up, but in fact it was anchored down by the bottom plate. But this is a really lovely space, and it's a cool space in the sense that it's got direct access out into the garden. Now, I've removed this old set of Kauri 10 light traditional sort of French doors, and I'm going to be replacing all of the joinery on this elevation in the new part of the house effectively with brand new Altus joinery. The great thing about putting in some new joinery at the back here is that it gives me an opportunity to install some double glazing, and that's going to help me not just in winter when the house is potentially a bit cold, but also during summer when I get a lot of heat gain from that northern aspect. It's going to help make these spaces a little bit cooler as well. There's a couple of walls inside the house that it was simply easier to reframe them, remove them and reframe them. This is a classic here as well. This is the one that was actually fixed down on top of the carpet, but I wanted to sort of formalize this space. It was a funny room with the odd shapes in it. So reframing here, I'm going to tuck in a little cupboard in here because again I'm a little bit short on space. So when I'm reframing inside the house, it's always with the J-frame, and the boys are loving it. It's straight, it's true, you can use every single piece of a 6 metre length. And then the 140 by 45 that I've got there, that's what I'm doing. I'm strapping them alongside the original ceiling joists up in the roof space, and that gives me a greater span, and that's what I'm going to use to frame out and to create my attic storage as well. So some 90 by 45 and some 140 by 45, that'll all be gone in the next couple of days. This is the kitchen. Yes, there is no kitchen here right now, and it was my job to actually take the old one out before the builders started. And to be honest, it was pretty disheartening to see the state of it and to see what happens to a building if you allow moisture to just saturate through the building envelope. So I've got a couple of issues that I have to deal with here. One is that the waterproofing to the nib wall is not that great, and I think I'm getting water through the join between the slab and the nib wall. There's no flashing on top of the nib wall so that the water is being driven through the gap between the weatherboard and the top of the concrete block. And well, the spouting, that just pushed all the water down onto the ground. And this house as well, it was a little bit overgrown. So when we were taking things apart, there was actually kikuya and weeds growing up through the wall and here. Anyway, the kitchen has gone, but I'll show you some photos of that in its original state as well. And the new proposal is that, again, it's a 95 square metre house, so I've got this space has to do a lot of different jobs. It's going to have the laundry in it, fridge, pantry, run my cooking along this side, put some overhead cabinets. That's why I've framed out the window so I can get overhead cabinets, a lot more storage on the wall there. Pop the sink under the new sliding window that's going to go in there, which will give me the chance to slide it open, look out into the garden, and then return the breakfast bar around here. So it's relatively compact, but I think it'll do everything that I need it to do and everything that a family needs it to do. But it's still a work in progress. never knew that figuring out what to put in a kitchen was actually that difficult, but it is, but we're working our way through it. So right now I'm here in the backyard. It's a relatively small backyard. We're talking about, this is an old section, so it's somewhere around 290 square meters, and the house is 95 square meters, so I don't have a lot of space to play with, but it is north facing. It's got this glorious, fantastic, historic heritage shed, which, well, it's seen better days. And the house, in a sense, has as well. Looking at the roof up there, that's a corrugated iron roof. I think it could be as much as 50, 60 years old. And, well, I think the house is deserving of a brand new roof, and that's exactly what it's going to get when we put on the new True Oak colour steel roof in a couple of weeks' time as well. And I tend to look at houses a little bit like a living being. If you don't look after them, they will get sick. And if you do look after them, they'll look after you as well. So that's what this project is all about. Replacing the roof, tidying up the insulation, relining, rewiring, new kitchen, new bathroom. I need to do all of these things. Everything was beyond salvageable. So it's a big project, and it's great to have you with us. One of the things I really enjoy about doing work on older houses is that it's a challenge to me as a builder, as a carpenter, to be able to somehow balance the need to make it modern and then be respectful of the old. And one of the things I'm definitely going to do with the roof is I'm going to use True Oak as a profile. That's got a sort of a more traditional form to the corrugated iron. It'll be long run, it'll be colour steel, it'll give me all of that durability, but it will also be reflective and reminiscent of the original corrugated iron that's still up there, that's doing a reasonable job, but judging by the number of holes that I can see in it, it's time for a new roof. I love this shed, like I really love it, for a whole bunch of different reasons. I love it because, to be honest, it's got a building consent, 1926. It's on the limb, and it shows a design, just a floor plan for a toilet on this side. It's divided in the middle, and it had the bathroom on the other side, or just a bath basically. One of my favourite books on my bookshelf at home is How Buildings Learn. It's by an American architect who's fascinated with what happens to buildings basically if we leave them alone, and I think, like me, he would absolutely love this building. The lesson for me is, if you build something in 1926, which is when this was built, and then you do nothing at all, this is what you end up with. So if you ever think that you can delay your maintenance, think about this building. One of the challenges of working on a heritage property is, where am I modern and where am I historic? Where am I respectful of the old and where do I accept the new? And in this property here, I know that this is an extension. It's a lean-to. It was done sometime in the 1990s, and it kind of had a mishmash of different joinery styles in here. So I've made the decision that the set of French doors, the window here, the bifolds behind me, and that window over there, I'm simply taking them all out and I'm replacing them with new Altus aluminium joinery. It gives me the opportunity of sort of introducing a modern element to the building, and I'm introducing modernity into a fairly recent addition to the property, and I think that's completely appropriate. And the beauty of it is, of course, with the new joinery, I get double glazing as well. This is great. This is a real find. This is a little treasure out of the house. If you've ever wondered how these houses originally were set up on piles, well, this is it. It is literally half a bit of totra, probably, that they would have just driven into the ground and then set the bearers on top and joisted out of the whole house from there. Of course, over time, well, there's not much left. It is like pulling an old rotten tooth out of the ground. No wonder we need to repile. One of the really important things, the most important thing about working on a job like this for all of us, myself and all of the guys working on the property, is to make sure that we're all safe. So for me anyway, right now, big risks on this job are to ensure that electrical safety. So I've disconnected all of the old wiring, just using the lifeguard. And then of course with a 3-metre stud, we've got to be working safely at heights, easy access ladders, everyone's okay.